The reason 20% of men get all the beautiful women is because they have charm. You probably have money and a great personality, but how do you genuinely attract the woman you want? Most men think attracting women only works for handsome rich men, and it is one of the hardest things to unlearn when you look like a average looking guy. But there is a right answer. I've helped many entrepreneurs, and they all follow this exact formula for attracting the woman they want. So in this video, I'm breaking it all down. This is the proven step-by-step framework to attract the woman you want as an entrepreneur. All right, so the very first thing we must get right is what I call the art of advertising yourself, because this not only influences the way women perceive you, but it also influences how women respond to you. Imagine you owned a high-end watch store in the middle of the city. You had high-end luxury and craftsmanship, but then you look around and you see that the windows are dusty, the lights are off, and there's like no sign outside. I mean, nobody's walking in that store. It has nothing to do with your craftsmanship, but everything to do with your presentation. Because good advertising is cleaning the glass, turning on the lights, and placing your best piece right at the window. Because while begging for attention is pitiful, having no clear presence whatsoever is foolish, and women being so allured by appearances are not going to enter a store that has no clear selling point. When I was fat and socially awkward, I knew deep down I had a good heart and many things going for me. I had built 2 successful online projects and grew tens of thousands of followers on each. But how I was marketing myself communicated a different story. I wasn't projecting value, and that's why I was invisible to women, and especially to women who I was attracted to the most. So when you think of the hottest possible woman you could date, what comes to mind? Probably your first instinct would be blonde or brunette, blue-eyed, fit, feminine, and so forth. You have some surface criteria that you find most desirable in your ideal woman. And that's great because it makes you selective. However, remember, women have criteria as well, and often they have more criteria for men than you have for your ideal woman that you would want to date, except that criteria is based heavily on character and status and less on appearances alone. So, for that reason, it is good to ask yourself this question: what kind of qualities would my ideal woman want in a man? Because the more experience and interaction you have with your kind of woman, the more you can start to fill the empty gaps in your character and the way you project yourself that currently make you unqualified to attract these beautiful women. For example, most high value women desire qualities such as emotional and financial stability, natural charisma and leadership ability, dominance, ambition, and the effortless confidence of a man who can simply take care of things. On the physical end, women instinctually, whether we like it or not, gravitate towards genetic fitness such as height, strong facial and physical characteristics, and a sense of style and nonchalance. Now, of course, you must focus your attention to the things you can influence. For example, your height is limited by nature, but you can influence the details around it, such as your body, your demeanor, your style, and so forth. It always helps to have more money, less stress, and a great lifestyle, right? So, all these aspects contribute to the appearance of power, but more importantly, they are an example of self respect, success, and immediate attraction, which makes the next step as effortless as possible. So, once you've maximized your strength, we move into step two, which is finding these beautiful women you want to attract. And the easiest way to find her is not by downloading 10 dating apps or making rounds at the supermarket or the club, but by repositioning yourself. Think about it like fishing. You don't cast a line into a swimming pool and hope to catch tuna, right? No, you already know where the tuna is. You can also think of it like opening a business. You don't set up a surf shop in the desert and hope for customers to appear. You position yourself where your ideal customers already gather. So the exact same principle applies in dating. Stop fishing in the wrong waters expecting a bluefin tuna to appear in catfish infested waters. There's a good old saying that you won't find your wife at the club. And there's an element of truth to that, because one of the common mistakes men make when they are actively looking is they start looking everywhere, which is as pointless as looking nowhere, right? So, what you have to do is position yourself where opportunity is highest. In your case, that could be at the gym if you enjoy lifting, or at a jujitsu club if you enjoy grappling. Think about it: if your passions are tennis, surfing, golfing, Those are all interesting activities that attract a niche of women that have at least one interest in common to you. If you want to take it a step further beyond that, there really are 3 to 4 top tier locations that give you the best shot at striking gold. Those are, firstly, fitness and wellness spaces. So you have hiking groups, running clubs, anything which is sporty and, for the well being of your mental and physical health. Secondly, educational and growth settings like book clubs and workshops. Thirdly, artistic venues, so art galleries, museums, and wine tasting events. And lastly, and this is, to your preference, but faith based or value driven communities like church, charity events, stuff like that. The more you move where your passions and interests line up, the more authentic of an encounter you can have. And the more the stars will appear to line up, not only for yourself, but for her as well. You don't want to force things or take on a workshop or class for the sake of meeting a woman. That's like a bit, pathetic. So let's assume you struck gold, right? And did encounter a woman that seems to tick off at least a few of your boxes on the surface. What comes next? Very simple. There are 2 ways this could realistically go, right? You either have spoken to her, you either haven't spoken to her but noticed her, or you already spoke to her but you are unsure whether there is interest or potential there, right? For the sake of illustration, let's assume you haven't initiated conversation, as this is the most likely scenario, right? The next question would be, how do you maximize your chances at success immediately? And the easiest way to do that is by gauging interest level. Because if you really have presence and you are projecting good confidence, she is going to take interest. But if she doesn't, that's also fine because you're going to assume attraction regardless, right? That's the right thing to do. So the only thing left to do is to initiate conversation, which is arguably the most intimidating part for most men. And there's good reason for this because it is far less threatening to approach an average looking woman than it is a really beautiful one, right? So there is a hack to this that always works. And the best part about it is it doesn't actually betray your intention or your interest. So the woman doesn't immediately feel validated from talking to you. It's called an indirect approach, where you make an offhanded comment or observation about something completely unrelated to her, but in a very nonchalant and aloof manner. If you could make her laugh, that's even better. But the point of this is just to get her to respond, to get a response out of her. And from then on, you can very naturally lead her into an intoxicating conversation by gradually asking her deeper questions and establishing common ground. Because what you are doing here is building rapport, making her comfortable so she can let her guard down and become more receptive to you. And it makes the next transition as smooth as possible without feeling awkward or desperate on your end. By this point, you should have some idea of where her interest is based or whether or not she is asking you questions and investing in the conversation. But even if it's not where it could be, you're still going to do this next step. You're going to bring the conversation to a close. And as you're doing that, you're going to say, "It was nice talking to you. Let's catch up soon." And after her response, you're going to seal it off by saying, "Let's exchange contacts." And as she pulls out her phone, this is very important. You simply take it, put in your contact, and explicitly tell her to message you. This is a very important move. Now, this could go one of 2 ways, right? Because the ball is in her court ultimately. She can either text you or she can't, right? Obviously. But the best part about it is this: it's a filtering mechanism that immediately tells you how interested a woman is. If she's high interest, she will always text you. It might not be immediate, but she absolutely will. And once she does, you are set to move on to the next step. And this is where things get fun because once she sends that text, you know she's down for pretty much anything, right? And of course, the best segue from here is to plan a date and a time to meet. That's it. You're not going to have deep conversation over text or therapy sessions about her childhood, none of that. You are simply texting for logistics, just so you can follow up with her, right? And truth be told, the best dates, first dates, are also the simplest. You don't want to invest too hard too soon. A walk in the park, an activity, or a coffee is enough. You're not going to talk politics or debate or argue. That's not what first dates are for. It's not an interview. So keep things as lighthearted as possible by focusing on these two things to continue where you left off in the first encounter. You're going to tease and challenge her to build sexual tension, and you're going to uncover her character in the process to gauge her quality and potential. That's it. You must use humor to tease and provoke, and you use indirect statements or questions to get her to talk and talk and talk some more. That's what first dates are for. Do not talk too much, do not reveal so much of yourself, because ultimately she will reveal herself to you. Because what you're doing is playing a ball together. You're pushing a bit and pulling, pushing and pulling. It's the art of keeping tension high without giving yourself fully away. In very simple terms, I have always recommended to men to avoid overly complimenting women at the outset, because women get a lot of that already. You're not there to get her approval. You're there to see if she's ultimately worth your time, because you are the one choosing her, not vice versa. If she's not good stock, you can walk away. And if you do all of this correctly, the tension between you and her will eventually reach a ceiling. And that's usually when both you and her are basically feeling a strong pull towards each other. And that's when you must escalate physically without getting any sort of resistance from her end, because that's the worst, right? So this communicates a few things simultaneously. Namely, that you are dominant and take the lead without asking for permission. If you read her body language closely, you can nail the timing of this very well. But these things should usually come very naturally and don't need to be forced, especially if she has high interest in you. And that's the ideal situation, right? So, regardless of what most people would say, closing off the first date having engaged in intimacy will compound your chances of that woman wanting a second, a third, and a fourth date. And this sets you up perfectly for the next step, which is very straightforward, because you are going to repeat this process for the next few months with a few important pointers that will minimize any disappointment in the long haul, right? Firstly, you want to avoid meeting her regularly, because that is only going to burn the desire. If you put all your eggs in one basket, you're going to lose them all. Instead, by keeping tension high and your presence scarce, your value will increase over time, and so will her investment in you. Secondly, as I've told you earlier, you text her only for the purpose of planning dates. This was a mistake I made a lot early on, because I would be texting 3 or 4 girls at a time, trying to update them on my day and what's going on at work. And it resulted in an endless stream of distraction and unproductivity. You want to avoid that at all costs, trust me, because if you're constantly distracted from work and fantasizing about women all day, you're going to fall in a loop of desperation, mood swings, and just terrible productivity. Thirdly, and very importantly, you want to give her the opportunity to invest into your relationship and show actual effort. If you're the one planning and initiating dates all the time with very little output on her end, her interest is plummeting and have been doing most of the heavy lifting. Give her the space and opportunity to express herself, and she will surprise you in many unexpected ways, believe me. And finally, to round off, you want to vet her properly. In the dating process, you are not going to stop testing her or evaluating her character, because in the first few months, she's on her best behavior. It's not going to be a good example of what life would be like with her, should you want to obviously consider that. So you must stretch out that timeline as much as possible before commitment by familiarizing yourself with her family, her friendships, her sexual past, her childhood, to really get a comprehensive outlook on her life. Then and only then can you move on to the final step, which is optional, of course. But if her character, values, and long term goals align with yours, you can consider commitment. And the best part about this, you have quadrupled your chances at having an incredible relationship by following each step, because you didn't lose your identity in the process, you didn't bargain, and you didn't force things. You've gently let her into your world and made her reveal and qualify herself to you in many different ways. This only reinforces her respect for you and her admiration and her love, not only for now, but also for the years to come. And if you play your cards well, through everything you've learned in this video, you also have the necessary skill set to keep her, because you never stop playing the game. That's the secret, you see. You start playing at a higher level. That's all. So whether it's teasing, banter, or emotional leadership, Those should be maintained and often amplified to manage her emotions and her bad days and her tests when you are doing life with her. You never stop dating her or expanding your mission in life, especially as an entrepreneur. You simply consolidate the two without undermining either of them. And then you have the facility and the tools to continue winning. That's it, my friends. That's it for today. If you found this valuable and have any further questions, please leave them down below. I'll be very happy to answer them. And if you're an entrepreneur looking to really take control of your dating beyond the noise, then click the first link in my bio and book a call with me directly. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you later.